Hello everyone, welcome to today's airsofting video. As you can see right before your eyes, today we are going to be doing a review video, and that is going to be of my newly unboxed CYMA CM052 RPK. This one is AEG based, so what I'm going to be doing actually is I'm just going to be doing a full-on review of this light machine gun. As you can kind of see that the drum mag is currently attached to this RPK. I will talk in greater detail of the OEM magazines that do come with this gun when you purchase it, and just some various just facts about the gun itself. So I'll kind of just start it right now and won't keep this introduction too lengthy, but I hope you guys do enjoy this video. First of all, I kind of wanted to take the time to really show you guys and really get a chance to appreciate the beauty of this RPK. I have to hand it to CYMA. They did an excellent job with replicating this this Soviet firearm. And again, they just went all the way with this thing, and I'm just really impressed overall with the material and the overall quality build of this gun. As you can see, you have real wood finish here, and of course it's stamped steel for the exterior of the rifle itself. For the most part, it is going to be stamped steel, even including the bipod itself. For the most part, typically a lot of this kind of material that's on the barrel is usually going to be some kind of other type of metal, not so much steel, but for the most part, the main components towards the back of the gun here are in fact stamped steel. We'll get a better view of that as well as we get closer to the gun. So continuing with the exterior, here's kind of a better view of the actual wood finish on this RPK. Again, it's very well done. There has been some comments just from my research on this gun that the wood finish isn't exactly to par, and it's not something that some of you guys like on this gun. But I have to say, all these cuts are pretty smooth. Everything is overall smooth and sanded very well in my opinion. And of course, whatever shading that they used here to coat the wood, to give it that finish, again, it's very well done in my opinion. If I move on over to the actual hand grip here, so again, the wood furniture here is looking very nice. You can kind of start to see some little nuances here with the wood being cut a little uneven. But again, if you're nitpicky, then this may be an issue for you. For myself, I feel like it gives it character, because when I look at Russian airsoft guns, I feel like if they don't have these little scratches or divots or anything, I don't feel as though that it's quite as authentic. But here's the other side as well. Again, you can kind of see a little bit more. It's kind of harsher wood there if you kind of rub your finger across it. But again, to me, I think it adds character, and I think overall that's just wonderful. And again, here's just a closer view of the stamped steel upper of this RPK. And as we get into the barrel and the bipod itself, it is all metal, and again, just really makes it look super intimidating, and it looks wonderful. So the nice thing is the RPK does come with some extra features compared to your typical AK-47 or AK-74. As you're aware, there is of course a bipod. So it is a spring-loaded bipod. Currently I have it open. If we're trying to close the bipod and put it back to its resting position, what you would need to do is you would just grab the legs and you would squeeze them a little bit until they can't squeeze anymore, and then from there you'll be able to pivot this back. Now you can finally grip this closed, and then you can kind of see this little pin that's here dangling. You can then click that into place, and now you can see that the bipod is in rest position. Now if you're trying to open up the bipod, just be cautious, because it is a spring-loaded bipod. There is a big spring in here, and it does tend to flail the legs out pretty quickly. So if I were to release this, you're going to see it just quickly springs open, and then you may need to grip it closed a little bit at this point to swivel them outward and then release. And then from there, you have your bipod placement ready to go. So additional features is the actual charging handle. So for an AEG, I kind of found this unique that there is some travel to this, and there is quite a spring attached to this thing. But it is quite satisfying to at least be able to pull that back whenever you'd like to. Of course, opening this does expose the hop-up chamber where you can freely adjust your hop-up when needed. For the fire selecting switch, it is your typical AK selector switch. So you have your safety like it is in now, then you have your full auto in the middle position, and then down is semi-auto towards the bottom portion. Now, kind of also looking into the sights of this particular gun, I'll kind of zoom in a little bit because these are a little more unique than the usual AK-74 or AK-47 sights. So again, everything is pretty standard here. You have the addition of this portion here, which the nice thing with this is you can move the sight left or right depending on what you're trying to shoot at. From what I understand, it just has to do with probably trajectory and windage when it comes to shooting something long distance, as bullets do tend to curve as the distance to your target gets farther. So what you would do is you'd pull this back, and then you can continue to turn, and then you can see the little red marker. It is moving to the right. So again, you can adjust this to your leisure, and again, you're pretty much good to go. You have two buttons here where if you slide this, it does change the elevation of the sight. So again, really depending on what you're shooting and how far away it is, that's where you can adjust freely. But again, keep in mind it is an airsoft rifle, so the BBs are not going to go all that far compared to the real thing. That's why this sight is a lot more, I guess, there's more involved into it, but for airsoft, there's not much really needed. Also, kind of one last feature I wanted to add, more so on the top portion of this rifle, you can actually field strip to this rifle to an extent. So, like you would traditionally, you'd press the back button here, and then that'll pop off the top cover, which again is stamped steel. If I had a magnet, I can definitely prove it to you, but you know what? This actually just proved it right there. You can see that the motor is magnetized, so it does pull that upper portion into the grip. So now you have your spring here, which again, I do love this extra detail, and considering it's an AEG, I do have a CYMA AK-47, which does not even come this close for internal realism. So it would come out like so. Now you have your spring guide here. We'll put that to the side. And then now you can actually pull the bolt out of the RPK. So again, very well detailed. It's pretty, you can feel some weight in there for that particular bolt. And then if you really wanted to get further into field stripping this portion, this does swivel open, and then this part does come out. I'm not going to fully get into that, but again, if you really needed to, you have the ability to do so. I'm sure that comes in handy when it does come to taking this rifle apart. If you needed to upgrade anything, I can see that as being extremely helpful. And then really to reassemble, you would just follow the same steps and put this thing back together, and it's good to go. Next is, let's talk about the magazines that come with this gun and what you can purchase for the RPK. So starting off, you can see that I do have a drum mag on here, also by CYMA. This is an auto winding drum mag, and you can see the button here. Pretty much you fill the BBs, you put the batteries into this little opening inside, and then it'll pretty much just wind the entire drum inside and feed it into the gun itself each time you press that button. Super awesome. I'll give you a better close-up on this. And this is, again, a completely separate accessory, so this is something you will need to purchase separately. It comes apart by taking this end piece out, and then this is kind of like a shell, and then you can kind of see that I have some BBs in there. Just keep in mind, this ammo is just really for show. It's not something that I do fire out of this gun. But here's that battery compartment I was talking about. You do put in 3 AA batteries, and then there is an on and off switch on this actual plastic casing, which you can flip into on mode. And then once you have everything good to go, you can go ahead and put this cover back on, put this end piece and screw it on tightly, and you're good to go. Now, mag capacity for this is about 2,500 rounds. There is also one that I've seen on eBike's website for 3,000, but I feel as though this was enough for me and nothing more is needed. Now, the thing with this RPK is it does come with the standard large orange magazines. So I currently have 2 of them, so therefore I did tape them together just for kind of like a fast mag reload if it ever came down to it. So here's pretty much what you're looking at, and apologies for the crude tape job on this, but again, I just decided to tape these 2 together just because it does make it a lot easier for reloads. So they are 2 high cap magazines, 800 rounds per magazine. Keep in mind you only get 1 of these with the purchase of this gun. They're very great quality magazines. Now you'll kind of notice this flaw here, and I will demonstrate it for you. Considering that you can see the gun is on the bipod right now, so I'm going to just kind of shift things up a bit. With this magazine, when you insert it, you're not able to rest the gun on the actual buttstock itself because the magazine keeps it from pretty much from touching the ground, essentially, because all the weight's being generated there. So actually the true design of this RPK, that's considered actually just an engineering error. So that is actually real. Real soldiers did come across this problem when they were trying to rest the gun on the ground when they had the bipod open. And of course it doesn't make it any easier considering that I have 2 mags taped together, and you can kind of see that there is maybe about an inch or 2 extra on the bottom that's sticking out. But again, for airsoft, it's pretty epic. And again, you can just switch them, and then you can go at it when you need to. Again, super quick. I got about together 1,600 rounds in here, plus the 2,500 round drum mag. I mean, for a light machine gun, that is more than enough, and it's done the right way. That's how it should be done. The RPK itself also does feature a side rail to house optics, so I do have a bracket here that I was able to slide onto these rails. So if I now chose to put some kind of optic on the RPK, it's totally doable. So for those of you that maybe are not too iron sights friendly, again, you do have the option of mounting something there and pretty much having better sights on your RPK. Next thing I wanted to share is, this is pretty traditional with a lot of the CYMA AKs from what I've noticed, is you're going to have your battery compartment in the stock, of course. Now, the thing with the stock is you're going to have a metal plate here with 2 flat screws, which you're going to need to use a flathead screwdriver to get these out. So I will actually take these out of here really quick just to kind of give you an idea of what the inside looks like. So give me just a second here. Now, of course, this to me would be a pain point of this gun, because when it comes to taking out the actual battery each time, I mean, that becomes definitely its own problem. But again, it really depends how frequently you're using the gun. You know, if it's back to back, hour after hour, then yeah, you know, you may need to change the battery out ever so often. But here's the back cover. We got that removed. So now we can see the interior of the stock. So you have your typical connection here. You have your fuse, then you have your plug to put in your battery. Now, just kind of a side note, nunchucks will not fit in here. Block batteries will not fit in here. Anything more than 7.4 volt batteries will not fit into this gun. That is a downside of things. To me, that's already kind of just something that I nitpick, is that I can't fit any of my nunchucks or any of my block batteries that I currently have. So therefore I need to buy a whole new battery just to fit this gun specifically. Because again, you can see that the design of the stock, it pretty much stops right here, right where I'm drawing the line with my fingers. You only have this area to house a battery. So you do need to buy a 7.4 volt battery, which they sell literally as big as this little square here that I kind of drew out. That's literally the only battery that will work. I have, of course, tested it with my 9.6 volt batteries, you know, just to get at least the chance to fire the gun. For now, that's something I plan on doing, is ordering more of more batteries, again, one to fit this one. So once you plug it in, everything should store nicely inside, and you can put your cap back on and you're ready to go. So once we have our battery in and ready to go, this thing is going to be just a pure absolute beast at everything that it does. Again, CYMA with their engineering of the gearbox, the functionality, and just impressive exterior. It's just a wonderful package, and again, they replicated the RPK just so beautifully. Let's talk a bit about the power that this particular RPK produces. So with 0.2 gram BBs, you're going to get general FPS of about 400 to 420 FPS. So somewhere around that line. I will demonstrate this more in my shooting demos. I typically do those as separate videos. This is just strictly verbal review and just visuals of the gun. So we'll get a chance to get that chrono readout to see exactly if it is within that FPS range. But quoted by e-bike, that's what you're going to expect with this rifle. And I mean, the rate of fire on this is just incredible. I don't quite know off the top of my head how many rounds per second, but that is something that I will also chrono as well to get a better idea. And then distance-wise, of course, still including the 0.2 gram BB weight, is right around 70 feet to about 100 feet at the most. So it has quite an impressive range, which almost, again, would probably be useful for some kind of nicer sight. But again, the sights that are built onto this gun are great, and I don't think it should be an issue with hitting an opponent 70 feet or 100 feet. Again, BB weight plays a big role. If you feel like 0.2s are still a little bit too curvy, or they don't fly straight, you can adjust the hop up, tweak it some more, or even change the BB weight to maybe a little bit of a heavier weight, maybe like a 0.25 for example. But again, being that it's an LMG machine gun, it's not something, I can't really see using super heavy BBs would be beneficial, because again, it will cost a ton of money. But that's just the general FPS and range and adjustment of hop up right there. So to summarize, this gun, of course, is absolutely wonderful. For everything that I mentioned here, and for the price tag that they're selling it for on e-bike, it's just a great deal. So I lucked out even more, considering I bought this on Black Friday, where the price jumped even lower. I got this gun for about $180, and the drum mag was about maybe less than $40. And then, of course, I got other accessories as well. But again, for an RPK and a drum mag accessory, if you get lucky on any of their deals, you can probably get away with it and not pay more than $220 for the whole package. Now, of course, keep in mind that this one that I purchased is not including the battery or the charger. So I just strictly bought the gun just by itself, again, for experimenting and checking to see if a nunchuck or a block would work, but it didn't work, so that's now me stuck with buying a new battery. But again, not a huge deal. If you do choose to buy the gun with the accessories, it is going to bump up the price probably an extra $20 to $30. So just keep that in mind if you are trying to shop with the gun and battery packaged, together. The price is going to be a little higher. And really, I don't have anything else that I want to nitpick besides the battery situation. Everything on this gun is just beautiful. My recommendation for this is 10 out of 10. Just CYMA just absolutely exceeded my expectations of this RPK replica. Again, I just love Russian guns in general. As you can tell, I have yet to put an M4 on my wall, but it's coming, I promise. I'm looking to add that to my collection, but I've been wanting an RPK for a good while, and now I got the chance to own one. I even went official, as you can see, the sling. That is an authentic Soviet sling from Ukraine, actually, so that is the real deal. And again, it just matches the image of an RPK that much more. I definitely advise for you guys to go on eBay and find these Soviet slings if you are owning any Russian loadouts. It's just going to add more character to your loadout. But anyway, to wrap it up, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, this is just a verbal review. The shooting review is going to come on a separate video, so just keep in mind and be ready for that when it does come out. If you guys have any questions on this gun and you want any other questions answered, please feel free to reach out in the comments. I'm happy to reply back and let you know. But thanks again for watching, guys. I hope you have a great day.